In an abandoned concert hall, the T-doll named Intruder stands alone on the stage. She looks at the empty chairs in front as if addressing her audience. She says 3 names: Scarecrow, Executioner, and Hunter. Despite losing 3 of her subordinates, the show must go on. The operation continues much later on into the night. M4 and her support group have been eradicating lower-level SF dolls scattered around Area S9. They have a different mission now than when they started: find the SF ringleader in the area and eliminate her. For most of the day, they have been trying to trace the signals of the high-end T-doll, but they can't point to the exact location because of 2 things. They either find a fake command post, or they get swarmed by a large number of dolls. Night has fallen before any exciting action begins. There are 3 groups in the support of M4. Each group is called an echelon with 4 members, and they are systematically commanded by Gentian. Echelon 3 is where M4 and R15 are. They have just finished clearing an area and are about to receive the next order from Gentian when an unknown signal interrupts their communication. Classical music blares all over their earpieces. When the dramatic music stops, Intruder finally speaks to them. She calls the GK dolls her guests. Therefore, she must prepare for a worthy performance. Everything that has happened earlier is only to eliminate time, because for Intruder, the real show is about to begin. At the same time the call ends, Echelon 1 has found a promising area where the command post is possibly hidden. When they enter the building, all they see is a large generator in the middle. One of the dolls checks the data, but she finds out it contains fake data. Before they can get out of the building, a large group of SF dolls is coming their way. Echelon 1 has no choice but to stay inside and hopes for the best. Echelon 2 is supposed to support them, but they have to get inside a building too, or else they will get annihilated by the incoming enemies. Because of this situation, M4 and her group are left alone to find Intruder. Since the dolls will only stop if the ringleader is found, the pressure is high on their shoulders. Thankfully, Hellion comes through and gives important information to Gentian. They have finally located Intruder's location. Gentian immediately passes the information to M4. Then her group sets out towards the abandoned concert hall. This may be a dangerous risk. Even though M4 and R15 are elite dolls, they can't bring down a high-level doll without any support. So Gentian makes sure to get help from her fellow commanders Shijun and Kamalov. M4 and the others enter the theater. There, they find Intruder alone, as if she has been expecting them. She is a command-type SF doll in charge of Scarecrow, Executioner, and Hunter, basically the manager of the previous dolls they have dealt with. She is proud to be a commanding officer. To show this off, she orders an even larger group of SF dolls outside the theater, waiting to ambush M4 and others. This pincer movement gets more depressing with the fact that their other companions can't rush to their aid, since they are also dealing with their own encounters. To top it all off, Intruder doesn't want to underestimate her guests, especially since it's M4 who is present there. So she unveils 6 mounted machine guns, 3 on each side of the theater. Intruder aims all 6 weapons at M4 and her group and starts firing. The GK dolls have no choice but to crouch down under the chairs to save themselves from the continuous, loud rounds of firing. They can't communicate with each other or else Intruder will trace it and point a machine gun at them. Then, R15 notices something. One of the machine guns is not working at all. No one among the 4 of them has had the chance to shoot. This means someone from the outside must have disabled the weapon. Taking this chance, she tells M4 to disable the weapon on the other side. Quickly forming a plan, M4 orders everyone to follow her lead. Using the disabled gun on one side, she'll create a blind spot so that the others can alternately shoot down the rest. Intruder is impressed by this, but the tide of this raid turns in favor of the GK dolls. When Intruder orders her soldier from outside to attack, she finds that they have been engaged by another group of androids. The help Gentian asked for earlier has come in time. They managed to deal with the first group of SF dolls, and now they are providing support so that M4 can concentrate on eliminating the ringleader. With no other choice, Intruder uses her big gun and starts firing at them. She thinks she's best at making dramatic plans, but there's someone better than her. From the huge hole in the roof of the theater, M16 jumps down. With 2 bullets, she manages to shoot Intruder in the face and hand. Even in her demise, Intruder wants to be theatrical by saying the real show is about to happen. In the end, she stops functioning. The mission has been completed, and best of all, the original R team is finally reunited. It is M16 that shot the machine gun earlier. She has also been following Intruder since their separation, hence she couldn't reunite with them earlier. M4 slaps her and tells her to never reinstall her backup data, have her body crushed and her memory reset to factory settings. What a fitting way for an android to go. But the others understand that this is simply her stress talking. Because deep inside, M4 is relieved and happy that the 4 of them are finally together. Days after the mission, the Griffin and Kruger company gains control of Area S9. With this, the R team decides to go back to the location where they had their last top secret mission. They are to retrieve another storage device that contains relevant information about the Sangvis ferry. M4 is having mixed feelings about this since this is the place where they got ambushed by Agent, and where they got separated for the first time. Thankfully, they are now complete. M4 relies on R15, M16, and SOP2 to keep her steady in times like this. They enter the ruined building and find what they are looking for. M4 checks the device for any booby traps. However, as soon as she connects with it, a voice recording says the following: "They are in your house, they are in your car, they are in the skies, and now they are coming for you." It looks like the information they are after is all expressed in riddles. Regardless, they send this back to the GK headquarters for analysis. A few days later, Mr. Kruger calls some of his commanders into the secret base for a meeting about the information retrieved by the R team. In the base, Gentian finally meets Shijun and Kamilov, the two commanders who have helped her during the rescue mission of R15 and the raid on the SF doll intruder. She also meets two more commanders, Franklin and Kawasaki. When they have gathered, Hellion comes in, giving them an overview of the meeting. They'll be discussing a contingency plan to counter the Parapluie plan. It is a scheme that Sangvis Ferry has been preparing for. They still don't know yet what it entails or its effect, but Mr. Kruger wants to be ready for it when it starts. For now, since he's still attending to some important matters, he asks the commanders to make themselves comfortable and to test out some new doll models and simulations being made inside the base. So, the commanders decide to check the simulations. After running a few rounds, they all agree that Commander Gentian is a prodigy. They now understand the reason why she is the talk of the town when she first arrived. Just then, Gentian receives a communication from M4. The android is warning her about something, but she can't hear properly due to poor signal. Right after the call, the whole base shakes with explosions. Something explodes near their room, causing debris to fly and hit Gentian, making her lose consciousness. When she wakes up, she is greeted by Mr. Kruger himself. He is urging her to fight with them, as people around them are running around urgently. Donning a battlesuit, Gentian doesn't expect to actually fight. She has no experience on the battlefield, so this will be her first. Nonetheless, she assesses the situation. A large group of SF dolls and their weaponry has found their base and focused their attacks there. Everyone is caught off guard and a lot of damage to the structures has been incurred. Their defense systems have been hit and the warning systems have not worked due to signals getting jammed. The commanders have no choice but to join the fight since there are not enough personnel to handle the attack. They do have some remaining options for defense, like resin activation. But even with this, they don't know if it can withstand the sheer force of SF dolls raiding them. Finally, the call of M4 comes through clearly. She and the others are outside the base's perimeters and are about to go back to help. But Gentian stops them. She asks permission from Mr. Kruger to allow the dolls, led by M4, to find the command post and destroy its ringleader. She reasons that it's to their advantage that their dolls are already outside and that M4 is with them. She can take the role of a commander and lead her companions to search and destroy the SFT doll that controls the horde attacking the base. If they go back inside, there's no guarantee that they'll be able to help eliminate the attackers. Mr. Kruger isn't a fan of this idea. He is not used to trusting androids or robots in general. After all, a failed trust is what started this whole android war in the first place. But Gentian assures him that M4 can command the other dolls. Eventually, Mr. Kruger relents. He acknowledges that it's their best shot to win this raid. And so, Gentian orders M4 to lead all the doll echelons to search and destroy the command post. M4 accepts, and immediately she mobilizes all the dolls in the area. However, their first problem is that they don't know where to start the search. Luckily, R15 has located the SF base using her recon skills. When they arrive there, the base is as large as the one led by Hunter, with a lot of extra SF dolls securing the parameters. R15 finds a free route to sneak inside one of the buildings. M4 orders her team to go inside, and the other dolls to explode the building if they don't come back in 5 minutes. It looks like an empty post when they enter. Instead, they only find a video message from the ringleader herself. What does it say? Will the R team be able to stop the raid? The R team finds the command post that's controlling the army of SF dolls currently attacking their base. When they get inside, they are greeted by a video message from the ringleader named Destroyer. She greets them and mocks them for not catching up on her. With that, she simply leaves the channel. For good measure, M4 shoots the node, disabling the SF soldiers. M16 looks at the floor. She concludes that Destroyer must have been there earlier, but was able to escape in time. SOP2 can trace her signal, so she wants to track the ringleader. But R15 stops them. She reasons that Destroyer may have someone helping her. If they go after her, reinforcements may come, which will make tracking difficult. M4 follows the advice of R15. Together with the other support dolls, they go back to their base. SOP2 immediately goes to Gentian for a cuddle. M4 reports their duties, to which Gentian commends. Kruger appears along with his second-in-command, Hellion. With them are several human soldiers who look like they are about to make an arrest. And indeed, they are. Kruger starts by saying that the base they are in is not known to everyone in the Griffin and Kruger company. Only he, Hellion, and selected commanders know about its location. Therefore, he can't help but think that there must be someone from the inside who is leaking relevant information. Hellion adds a conclusive report that a doll has been having fatal errors in her data traffic. Whether it's intentional or not, information passing through her neural cloud is getting leaked into the Sangvis ferry database. This has allowed the enemies to find their base and launch a precise attack. When she announces who the doll is, the R team listens disbelievingly. Hellion names R15 to be the one with the data error. Therefore, she must be taken into custody for interrogation. Even though they are androids, M4, M16, and SOP2 are trying to process the possibility that a team member will betray them to the enemies. This almost costs them their reputation as an elite team of android dolls when the other commanders learn about this. Their only comfort is the fact that Sangvis Ferry was not able to fully infiltrate R15's neural cloud, so they were not able to fully access other information. Later on, Hellion tells Gentian that R15 has been planted with an invasive SF program before her return. Presumably, this was around the time when the R team decided to separate from each other and R15 was trying to evade her taker, Hunter. The specialists are now doing what they can to completely remove the virus. The higher-ups don't want to scrap her due to her usability. For now, they will disconnect her from the Zener protocol, a program that allows her to communicate with others. Evidently, Gentian and members of the R team are distressed about this, but they trust that their comrade will still be saved and returned to them as she was. For this time, they need to focus on their mission, which is to track Destroyer. Using SOP2's information, they can trace her location, which is a barren, rocky area. The plan is that the support echelons will eliminate the surrounding SF dolls while creating an encirclement. The R team, on the other hand, will lure Destroyer into the encirclement to destroy her. While carrying out their mission, SOP2 is having some kind of identity crisis. They are androids, created as tools for war. So, for her, it doesn't make sense that they have a module for emotions. They are supposed to carry on their main purpose without the hassles of feelings and doubts, something that greatly differentiates them from regular human beings. M16 comforts her by saying that maybe their creator doesn't want them to be just soulless robots who pull the trigger. SOP2 is still feeling unclear even after this, but she decides to put this aside for now. Meanwhile, Destroyer is hiding in her base. She is getting frustrated seeing her best soldiers get annihilated by the GK dolls. She contacts Dreamer, another high-end SF doll who we can assume is her boss. Destroyer asks for assistance, but she is only met with silence. Getting impatient, she decides to take matters into her own hands. She busts out of her hiding spot and right into the area where the R team wants her to be. One of the GK dolls sends up a flare, indicating that the ringleader has been found and must be destroyed at all costs. An exchange of fire ensues. The GK dolls on top of the rocky formation versus Destroyer, and her remaining dolls down below. Seeing that she's getting surrounded, Destroyer can only bite her lip in frustration. However, luck decides to side with her for now. M4 and the dolls receive communication from Hellion. R15 has managed to escape from the interrogation room and is now on the run. She informs them that the rogue android has been infected with an SF virus and is considered dangerous. Tracking her would be impossible. She orders them to restrain her and contact higher-ups if they find her. They are also permitted to destroy her when the situation calls for it. Every GK doll in the area has been dumbfounded by this information. They can't believe that a once elite doll has become rogue. And while they are still processing the information, a lightning interference interrupts their communication. This allows Destroyer to escape into the nearby forest. Once alone, Destroyers try to contact Dreamer again. This time, she receives an answer. She demands immediate assistance right there and then. But Dreamer is a cunning android. She tells the escapee that she only promised to help if Destroyer can complete her mission. She is supposed to neutralize Kruger. But even if she fails in that aspect, she is able to gather information about the parapluie plan from the virus planted inside R15. That's enough reason to prove that she deserves help from her supervisor. But Dreamer twists her words. Instead, she says Destroyer has done her part, therefore it's time to scrap her off. They've been at this point countless times. What will be the difference if she wipes off her subordinate this time? Destroyer, the child that she is, starts to cry when she realizes she is helpless. Dreamer sighs and gives her one last chance. She will save her if she will follow her instructions precisely. A devious smile forms on her face. Back on the rocky terrains, M4, M16, and SOP2 are still following the traces of the Destroyer's signal. They are so far ahead in the front line that Gentian is unsure whether to allow them to move further. Just then, the androids hear an explosion a few meters in front of them. SOP2 confirms that Destroyer's location is just below the explosions. Suddenly, Gentian realizes that the R team is being lured into the target area of unknown heavy-hitting weaponry. At the same time, one of the commanders detects a scan that locks in on each of the R-team's signals. Kruger interrupts the mission. With a big emphasis, he orders all the commanders to evacuate the R-team from the area, whatever it may cost. Gentian's face becomes grim when she comprehends Kruger's orders. Without wasting time, she tells M4 and others to evacuate, while the other support dolls are coming their way. More explosions light up the night as one by one the support dolls meet their end. As they run, it dawns on M4 that their companions were used as bait to point the cannons toward them. This in turn allows the three of them to escape. Meanwhile, Dreamer gets curious about why her target is running away. Anyway, she has had fun playing with the Jupiter cannons. After demolishing a bunch of GK scrap dolls, she tells Destroyer to withdraw or else she won't save her again. She also greets R-15, who happens to be there, waiting for a chance to eliminate Destroyer and track her. Dreamer taunts her if she likes the virus that she gifted to her. R-15 gets pissed. Even as an android, she has her pride and doesn't like anyone to step on her. Dreamer adds that they specifically chose her to carry what they wanted. She wants to see R-15 suffer from the consequences of her actions, even though the latter is against it. R-15 vows to get back at Sangvis Ferry. She will make sure to make them pay for sacrificing her friends and for making her endure this pain and humiliation. Dreamer, who has always been egotistical and delights in the suffering of others, simply smiles and looks forward to it. 1 week after the failed mission, Gentian is overseeing the dolls getting recreated and installed with their neural cloud backup. She has been brooding over the fact that she had to sacrifice her dolls to let M4, M16, and SOP2 escape. But she learns one important thing that answers the question: why is the R-team considered elite? The T-dolls she has been using are considered regular ones. Their original data is stored in a way that allows Griffin and Kruger to recreate them and install their original memories and settings. Therefore, it doesn't matter if they get destroyed in a battle. Their original data is saved, so they can be revived as long as there is a doll model available. However, in the case of our team, this is not possible. Hellion reveals that their mental, emotional, and logistic structures are far more advanced than the regular ones, making the R-team the most important asset of the company. But also because of this, their data cannot be backed up or stored for recreation. It implies that if they get critically hit to the point of no return, it will be their end. Hellion also understands that Gentian has formed a bond with the R-team. It will be no surprise if, in the future, she'll get to command them again. She reminds her to take this information when that happens. At least, Gentian gets something clear out of her job. But she also worries about the well-being of the team. Speaking of the R-team, they are still taking in missions, although they're not as heavy as the previous ones. They are holding out their hope that they'll be allowed to look for R-15. M4 strongly believes that she can trust Gentian to lead them well in their next assignment. In the main office of GK, Kruger finally understands that the word parapluie refers to the virus that has been implanted inside R-15. This clearly indicates that Sangvis Ferry wants to eradicate GK from within, and they almost got successful, had it not been for R-15 acting independently from her orders. He understands that some commanders may treat dolls the same way as a human being, but when it matters, a decision must be made. Either you finish them, or they'll finish you first. R-15 has decided to become a vigilante. She'll take on the weight of the consequences and responsibilities, even if it means she'll no longer have a place to return to. We've now reached the final recap for the anime dolls frontline. R-15 has gone vigilante, but this will not stop M4, M16, and SOP2 to take her back and make her come home. Everyone in Griffin and Kruger knows that R-15 has been infected by the parapluie virus. This is part of Sangvis Ferry's scheme to take down their mortal enemy. Therefore, everyone is being extra careful around untrusted devices and signals. Despite this, the R-team still sets out to track their lost comrade. Supporting them in this mission is Squad Negev, composed of the team leader Negev, Tar-21, Galil, and Micro Uzi. They are the ones who actually found traces of the signal of the R-15. They follow it until they arrive near an abandoned planetarium. Tar-21 is about to contact the R-team about their situation when all of a sudden, an invasive signal tries to take over her neural cloud. Fortunately, Negev senses this and warns her companion. But their trouble is not over. Communicating with them is a new ringleader named Alchemist, and she is about to send a horde of SF dolls to deal with them. Negev responds accordingly. She sends Galil to find a place where she can safely communicate and ask for help. Negev and others will temporarily hide in the planetarium to wait for reinforcements. They successfully do their part just in time for the arrival of SF forces. The enemies don't waste time. They immediately start firing at Squad Negev. Meanwhile, Galil connects with the R-team and reports their situation. M4 relays this to Gentian, who is in charge of overseeing their mission. She suggests that they temporarily change their mission to assist Negev and others. Gentian is reluctant to do this. Now that she knows that the R-team is irreplaceable, Quite literally, every mission they are in must be conducted with utmost vigilance. However, it doesn't lessen her trust in these androids, especially capability of M4 to lead. In the end, she allows them to do what they think is right, but she reminds them to be careful and never engage with the ringleader without any support. Now that she has permission, M4 instructs M16 to find a better place for communications. This is to ensure that there will be somebody to relay back to the base any reports about the situation. She and SOP2 will go back with Galil to assess the situation and see if they can rescue Negev and others. Gentian has been studying the terrain where her androids are in. Aside from a large number of SF dolls in the location, her intuition tells her that something is amiss. For one thing, the new ringleader alchemist is not capable of commanding such a huge military force. This makes her think that another ringleader must be controlling via long distance. She asks Kalina to search if there's a new profile of the ringleader in their database. This is partially confirmed by M16. The android informs her that she has found a huge command post for the SF dolls. She requests for reinforcements to take the place down, which Gentian approves. Meanwhile, M4, SOP2, and Galil come back to the planetarium. The barrage of bullets is still ongoing, except that almost half of the enemies are not moving thanks to M16's raid on their control center. Despite this, they are still not sure if Negev and others are still alive. Gentian is firm about not sending M4 until she is sure there is no imminent danger. Right on cue, the T-dolls inside the building send a message in Morse code to let their rescuers know they are still intact. M16 suggests that a pincer attack is the best move to eliminate the remaining dolls. With a sigh that means my androids are so stubborn, Gentian permits M4 Echelon to attack. She also orders M16 and the others to come to the location as reinforcements. Eventually, the GK dolls are able to force away their enemies. Alchemist's signal is nowhere to be found, but the R team must still take caution. When the coast is clear, Galil runs off to meet her teammates. M4 and SOP2 stay back to sweep off any remaining enemy. That's when R15 makes an unexpected appearance. She reprimands her teammates about how they should not let their guard down even when they have neutralized the area. To prove this, she causes M4 and SOP2 to black out. The next thing we see is M16 contacting Gentian and reporting that SOP2 is found unconscious near the planetarium, while M4 goes missing. After this, an emergency order is spread out to all the robots in the area. They are to proceed to Area S8 immediately for evacuation. In an unknown location, M4 is unconscious. In her mind, a specific memory keeps on repeating. It is the moment when she first met R15. At that time, R15 was ordered to befriend M4 and to act positively around her. M4 gets curious. If R15 is ordered to do as such, she should at least smile. The latter just tells her to give it as an order, and she'll do it. This memory keeps on repeating until a glitch appears on R15's image. This is when M4 realizes that there must be an unknown program that is trying to access her memories. Eventually, this doesn't work, as the image of R15 gets replaced by another T-doll that looks like a child. She keeps asking M4 who she is and gets irritated when she doesn't get the answer she wants. Then, the surroundings vanish, and we see R15 alone with M4 in an abandoned warehouse. Someone is using the Parapluie virus and program of R15 to communicate with M4. This someone is the childlike T-doll we saw earlier. She is most probably the other ringleader that Gentian referred to before. But even with connection, the neural cloud of the R team is created in such a way that no one is allowed to have access, even themselves. The unknown T-doll resents R15 for not bringing M4 straight to her. The latter simply replies that she is still bound by her order to protect M4, even though she has been infected with the virus. With no other choice, she orders Alchemist to find M4 and eliminate the rest. The GK dolls find themselves in trouble again. Another large batch of SF dolls is coming their way. They can't go back to the planetarium, as they are under heavy artillery firing. Their communications are shot down and they are cornered. On the other side of this abandoned city, Alchemist is hell-bent on pursuing R15. She takes pleasure in chasing, knowing that she has permission to turn the elite doll into scraps. She is excited to finish her, and then turn to Squad Negev as the next set of scraps. With this depressing situation, along with the fact that M4 is missing and no one knows where she is, it looks like the end for our lovely GKT dolls. But just in time, friendly help arrives as the support dolls from Commanders Shijun, Kamilov, and Kawasaki make their appearance. They position themselves in areas where they can easily shoot enemies. In no time, the reinforcements have opened a safe route for Squad Negev and the others to escape to. Rescue helicopters are being prepared by Commander Franklin. Negev takes control of the situation. She reports to Gentian that the Parapluie virus is still trying to take over their commands. They have found that it's coming from the main base of the enemy in the area, but they are not sure if they are capable of taking it down. For now, Gentian orders them to prioritize evacuation. Negev also reports that somehow, SOP2 has found the location of M4 and is currently on her way to retrieve her. If M4 is unconscious and they can't find a trace of her, then how did SOP2 know where to look? It turns out, while the GK dolls are being saved by the support group, Alchemist is about to end R15. For her, it's such a shame there is no audience to witness it. And that's when SOP2 catches her off guard. In one shot, SOP2 erases more than half of Alchemist's face. She follows it with a passionate barrage of bullets for good measure. When the SF doll has been dealt with, R15 approaches SOP2. She gives her former teammate an external device that contains everything she has found out about Sangvis Ferry, their plans, and where to locate M4. She also tells SOP2 that it contains her last message for all of them. She implies that this may be the last time they'll see each other. To avoid further questions, R15 leaves and heads for the main base of SF in the area. There she finds M16, seemingly waiting for her. For the last time, R15 clarifies to her former teammate that ever since she escaped from the GK base, she has been collecting more information about Sangvis Ferry. She allowed the Parapluie virus to take over her program, as she realized it works both ways. If Sangvis Ferry can take information from Griffin and Kruger through her, she can do the same using the virus itself. She confirms that there is another ringleader in the area aside from Alchemist. This leader is the overall boss and controls most of the dolls in the area. Although it's not her fault for getting infected, R15 is too upright to think that sacrificing herself is the only way to make things right. When she says this, she earns a slap from M16. But R15 has already made up her mind. She enters the building and meets with the unknown T-doll we saw earlier. This childlike doll is no other than the mastermind of Sangvis Ferry, the main boss of all the other dolls they have encountered before.